So, this is exactly how you're going to tell who's natty and who's not.
Don't play with me, that's the only thing I love. I love, 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 love. I love, I love, 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 love. I love, I love, 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 love. I love.
So, you're definitely going to notice a different background. I'm visiting my parents for a couple days, so I'm staying in the spare room. So, that's why it doesn't look like the dungeon or any other places you've seen from my other videos. The topic of today's video is how stupid it is for people to make the natty or not argument on YouTube, and my reason for thinking that people should 100% unequivocally, absolutely, beyond the shadow of a doubt, stop using prehistoric pictures of people before anabolics were prevalent to determine what types of physiques are actually achievable now without anabolics. Here's why. First things first, let me provide some evidence as to why it is incredibly irresponsible to reference old pictures. Now, if you know anything about bodybuilding, you know who this man is, Eugene Sandow. He is the man behind the Mr. Olympia trophy and probably one of the most referenced physiques as far as natural bodybuilders are concerned. Coming in at a close second, obviously, is Charles Atlas, once a professional boxer turned fitness icon. He was one of the most, if not the most famous old school bodybuilders from the pre-anabolics era. He's also referenced rather often as far as what's attainable as far as a natural physique. Now I want to show you guys one more thing. This is a gentleman by the name of George Hackenschmidt, and he makes a lot of guys now look small. Keep in mind, he was around pre-anabolics. We're talking like probably 1930-ish. I mean, this guy only lived until 1968. Now we're getting into my opinion, the most admirable physique in the pre-anabolics era. This is John Grimmick, and a lot of you guys are going to notice right off the hop that he has a physique that looks very hard to obtain, even in today's standards. Now, I'm going to explain to you why all of these pictures are incredibly pointless and incredibly misleading as far as what's capable now as a natural lifter, and why looking at pictures of dudes from the early 1900s bears no relevance to what your capabilities are today. So, why are these pictures incredibly irrelevant? Why is it stupid to do this sort of thing on YouTube? Well, I'm going to tell you. First things first, John Grimmick, who in my personal opinion out of those whole photo reel had the best physique, the most hard to obtain, and would still be fairly hard to obtain now, even with the help of anabolics, unless you were incredibly genetically gifted. Keep in mind, he was thriving during the Great Depression. Okay? George Hackenschmidt was born in 1877 and was kicking it when Roosevelt was president. Eugene Sandow is older yet. So you mean to tell me that in hundreds of years, we haven't improved nutrition, we haven't improved our training methodology, and these guys are the go-tos for how to determine who's a natural and who's probably using steroids. How stupid is that? Let that sink in for a second. These guys were barely getting by as far as meals are concerned. As far as what we know now with calories in, calories out, micronutrients, macronutrients, the importance of protein, which types of which type of energy sources, whether it be carbohydrates or fats, affect which type of system, anaerobic or aerobic. They had no idea. We have food more readily available, we have more quality food more readily available, and we have a much larger understanding of what the food does as far as putting on muscle. As far as training goes, Jesus Christ, man, we have scientists, we have plausible data, real proven clinical studies. We understand the minimum effective volume, maximum recoverable volume, maintenance volume. We understand what hypertrophy means. We understand how to get stronger as opposed to how to put on muscle. We understand what electromyographic activation means and what it is, and we can pick and choose exercises based on the evidence and what's going to elicit the greatest muscular response, therefore building the perfect program. And you mean to tell me that physiques now are being compared to physiques from 1910, 1920, 1930 because those guys didn't have access to anabolics? It doesn't even matter because we've come so far as nutrition and training goes that it's completely irrelevant. And there is no way to tell. unless you're their doctor or you are that person or you are a doctor who has some sort of a weird, creepy access to their blood or urine samples or hair follicle samples in order to do the testing and determine that, yes, they are on steroids or they were on steroids in the past. Now, there are a couple of telltale signs that people who have these anabolics have. Now, this doesn't mean that anybody with these features is or has an anabolic. They're just common traits for people who have used. The majority of your androgenic receptors are in your traps and deltoids. So if you notice somebody who doesn't have shoulders and traps and all of a sudden they have big, massive bowling ball delts and super huge traps, they may have taken steroids. You have to look at strength increases and what the linear progression and stuff of all that is like. But again, I mean, noob gains or people just change their training methodology and get a lot stronger because they're training more efficiently. They get a lot bigger because they're training more efficiently. They change up their nutrition, whatever the case may be. So, bottom line, there's no real way to tell. It's stupid to make comparisons to people and be like, well, these are the only physiques that we can 150% reference as being natural athletes because steroids were not around. Okay, neither was eating more than twice a day or understanding that a curl only worked one part of your arm. Like, it blows my mind. Anyways, guys, I try to keep it quick, but it's easy to ramble on when you get into this type of thing. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again.